Hey everybody, and welcome back to Let's Play Super Meat Boy, another Super Meat World edition. Today we're playing some downloadable world called Cramps, and this is another one that was created by NovaSilisko. And if you remember, I mentioned him earlier. He's the creator of a couple other worlds that have been released for Super Meat World, and also the Xbox 360 DLC as well. But I guess he's probably most famous for, or the chapter that he's most well known for, is the Expert Remix chapter, which I have not Let's Played yet because it's actually quite difficult. I'm actually a huge fan of these levels. Difficulty, these ones actually come out pretty easily. I'm using this kind of arbitrary how many Meat Boys out of 5 is it for difficulty. I'd say this one, probably clocks in at around a 2. I'd say these levels are about as hard as the levels in the Light World Salt Factory. Maybe a little bit harder than that, but not much. A uniform theme, actually, is that they look a lot harder than they are, and this is one example, even though I actually do get a couple of stupid deaths here, which I've edited out with the power of movie magic, but basically, all of these ones look a lot more daunting than they are, and if you actually just take the time to sit down and suss them out, then you find that they're not that bad. Very few exceptions to this. I think these levels are extremely well designed and should, be pretty easy even if you're just getting into the game for the very first time, which I imagine a lot of people probably are, based on the fact that Super Meat Boy has been part of that Steam sale with the potato pack, and in particular there's the whole Portal ARG going on right now, so I'm assuming that Super Meat Boy has probably picked up a lot of sales as a result of that. And if so, nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Better late than never. This is actually maybe the hardest level in the entire pack, just because of the jump that you have to make at the very end here, over these saws, but kind of around the horn on that platform in the air. And of course, you don't really have much time to plan your jump because the platforms disappear as you stand on them. But eventually, I'll make it. One of the things I still haven't, mastered or drilled into my head is that you have to hold the A button during your jumps to make you jump further. And I imagine that was a very deliberate design choice to mimic, the control scheme and the gameplay of the Super Mario franchise. But, that level was, a little bit tricky, but not too bad. The rest of these levels, they vary. Some of them, approach being as tricky as the one we just did, and some of them are drop dead easy, like the one that we literally just did without dying. And, thankfully, I did not have to do much editing on these, which always makes my life a lot easier. Had about 13 minutes of raw footage and cut it down to 8, so only 5 minutes of me dying and wishing I was dead, which is a nice change of pace after all of those, the hard DLC I've been doing so far. And there's new updates as of today. There's another 2 chapters, I think, coming out for Super Meat World as early as tomorrow. So this thing is well supported. They're releasing levels much faster than I can Let's Play them. Yeah, it's the difference between now and October is, I guess, having a job. But I digress. So the common elements, as you can probably see on these levels, are rockets. The rocket launchers are pretty important, but also lasers, and yeah, I'm down with that. I like the laser levels, particularly the ones that were on the disc or in the game, again for lack of a better term, in the hospital levels. I thought those ones were pretty good. And I feel like I'm a little bit lenient on the. Let me put it this way. I feel like if a Super Meat World update has a lenient chapter in it, I'm way more forgiving than if it has a super tough platform, or super tough world in it. I'm really against the idea of Super Meat World just becoming basically a masochist paradise where people release harder and harder levels, and eventually the difficulty curve has made the game so inaccessible as to make Super Meat World pretty much useless for the average player. Levels of this quality, or this difficulty, are maybe, admittedly, a little bit too easy for the people that might be a little bit more hardcore out there. But they're satisfying, and that's the important part. There's a lot of, kind of novel level design that goes into these, and I like seeing them do things that the developers maybe did not think of doing, and put new elements into the game that way, as opposed to just, making platforms smaller and smaller, or margins of error on jumps thinner and thinner. I'm not really that into that. And there have been a couple of chapters thus far that have kind of fallen prey to that, and I'm sure there's an audience for that, but it's not really for me. This is one of those levels that is both satisfying and looks a lot harder than it is. Basically, if you just keep running and make sure you time your jump appropriately at the end, you'll be fine on that level. This is another one that's not too bad. We're entering this section of the world where we have to deal with these saw launchers a little bit. And there's a level like this that in in Cotton Alley, which I can't recall off the top of my head, but basically the trick when you're dealing with these types of levels is to utilize the run button. That sounds simple and obvious, but actually, like, take your finger off the run button sometimes, and that'll allow you to kind of keep yourself wherever you want to be in between the two saws, which is obviously the most important thing to avoid getting completely flayed. And actually, another common theme of these levels is go fast, and I mentioned this in an earlier Super Meat Worlds Let's Play. I think it was for Paradise Lost, which I believe was actually designed by the same guy. But yeah, on most of these levels, hesitation is not your friend. If you actually just push forward and go with your intuition, you'll be fine. There's nothing on these levels that's really conceptually that difficult. All you gotta do is make sure you have your hardcore platform mechanics right. And, you know, as someone who was raised on platforming games that pretty much follow that same principle themselves, I'm a fan of this type of stuff. It's amazing how quickly you adjust to the difficulty of Super Meat Boy, because if this was, you know, the day after the game came out and you were playing these levels, you'd be like, this game is super fucking hard. But, you know, that's what 7 months of playing Super Meat Boy will do to you. This is another example of a level where going fast is your friend. But you won't be able to see it because I think I get a pretty nasty stupid death there. How about on this run? All you gotta do, basically push to the limit, go as fast as you can through this first half. Then on the second half you've got to be a little more cautious because obviously there's that laser that seeks you out. But still, there's a lot of levels in Hell that resemble this one, and if you've beaten those, that one probably won't be much of a problem for you. This level is more based around the idea of just like well-timed wall jumps. There's a lot of ones like these as well that look like they have pretty tight jumps, like in between saws, but are actually not that hard. I really like that these levels actually look more difficult than they are. It makes them feel ever more satisfying. I really didn't want to go with the wording on that, but once I committed to it, there was no way to back out. This is actually maybe the only level that has some kind of conceptual difficulty, and I'll admit I stood here for a while, my first time playing through, wondering how to get these blocks to break. But they do a good job of kind of introducing that concept if you're paying attention to what's going on around you. This is really a miraculous survival up until this point. I should probably be long dead, and, you know, be careful what you wish for because it just happened. But on the whole, this level's not that hard as long as you just have a little bit of patience. Again, the rockets look a lot more deadly than they are. As long as you keep moving, you should be okay. First, let's blast a hole open here so we can get through to Bandage Girl. That's probably good. And you just wall jump up, keep on the move, a good fall, and again, no problem. And this is actually the last level, Troll Face, and really simple concept here. All you gotta do is you know, get the key, run to the other side, get the key, run to the other side, rinse and repeat 3 or 4 times. There's really not any strategy that I can give you here, except, again, go fast. You're never going to end up in a situation where there's not enough blocks to cross the entire thing, unless you're going really slowly. And you can see, like, even with all of these blocks that have been taken out, it's still a relatively easy path to traverse. But anyway, we're going to finish up here. Yeah, overall, wait a minute. Maybe that wasn't the last level. What was I thinking? And, okay, so again, this is another one that was like the Cotton Alley level with the saws that come after you. The trick here, again, even though I continually keep dying, is to just kind of experiment with walking instead of running a little bit. So what I'm doing here is kind of, on my passage up, doing walking and running. See you guys next time.